Of Deputy Clare Daly, Minister, 2 minutes.
The Action Plan for Education Inclusion, known as DEIS, was published in 2005 and now provides support to 836 schools, serving a total of 169,500 pupils. There are 103,233 pupils in 646 schools at primary level and 66,237 students in 190 schools at second level. The DEIS programme has been implemented in partnership with schools and other government departments and agencies such as TUSLA, who manage the Home School Community Liaison and school completion programmes, and the Department of Social Protection, which is responsible for the school meals programme. After 10 years of operation, the programme is currently being reviewed by my department in consultation with key stakeholders and includes an Education Partners Forum on Monday next. The review is looking at all aspects of DEIS, including the identification process for the inclusion of schools in the programme, the range and impact of different elements of the school support programme, and the scope for increased integration of services provided by other departments and agencies in order to improve effectiveness. The Programme for a Partnership Government has committed to publish a new updated action plan for educational inclusion within 12 months. Subject to government approval, it is intended to start to implement actions arising from an updated plan in the 27-2018 school year. The number of additional schools to be included in the programme will be determined by a new identification process for this purpose, which is currently in development. In the meantime, I don't propose to make any changes to the current programme, including the addition of further schools.
Daly, 1 minute supplementary question, please.
Thanks, Minister. I've obviously seen the programme from government, and I welcome the fact that it does include a particular focus on DEIS schools with a commitment to deliver some proposals within 12 months. But I suppose my concern is that a year is a long time in the lifetime of a child, and this time last year your predecessor was telling me much the same thing, that she had commissioned a review into the whole area of DEIS, and it's been widely commented upon that this was a programme that was actually beginning to deliver success, that the range of disadvantage was diminishing. I have a quote here from the INTO National Conference this year from one of the teachers talking about the cuts in this area, where she said the saddest part is that the areas being targeted were beginning to work. Children from DEIS schools were showing improvement in testing, participation to third level was increasing, children from marginalised traveller communities were beginning to see education as a realistic pathway. Then we diverted resources and the good work started to unravel. So there is a huge urgency in this. There are many schools that are losing out because they're not getting this status which they actually should get.
Minister, 1 minute to reply. Supplementary.
Well, no, I think this is a valuable programme, and I have actually, just before I was coming in, I was reading some of the evaluation work that has been done on the programme in terms of the impact on literacy and so on. And clearly it's an area that I would have a very strong personal interest in trying to improve. When I was education spokesman before, I focused particularly on early school leaving and disadvantage, and I think there is a scope to develop new approaches in this area. So I think the review is timely, and hopefully we can learn some valuable lessons from the review and apply them in the next school year, not the one starting this year, which I suppose has already been provided for in terms of resourcing. So it will be for the next school year.
Deputy Daly, final supplementary.
It is a very valuable programme, Minister. I think part of the problems that have been identified, if you like, is that only half of disadvantaged children attending DEIS schools and receive the targeted resources, that some DEIS schools are not receiving extra funding. I think the Vincent de Paul have been really clear on this, in the sense that they've highlighted very much the gap between DEIS and non-DEIS schools narrowing. But we need to do more, and we need to look at broader areas where children from areas that are not disadvantaged are actually attending schools in that area and not getting the supports that they need. The criteria hasn't been reviewed since 2005, but Ireland is an incredibly different place since then, and schools that are maybe in areas that are not seen as disadvantaged areas, like the one I mentioned to you earlier in Swords, which has 68% of its population being non-Irish born. We need to be more flexible in dealing with the criteria to take account of these different schools in different areas.
Minister, to reply, please.
Sorry about that. I accept what the Deputy said. There is a particular problem in relation to children who have a disadvantage who aren't in DEIS schools, and clearly that's one of the topics that has been signalled for specific review, and that will be examined. I think equally, as the Deputy said, there is scope to look at how effective are the intervention measures. I think it's important that not only we designated schools as disadvantaged, but make sure that that the interventions there actually help the learners to achieve, as you say, standards that are achieved in other schools or by other children. So I think it's to make sure that the programme interventions are tailored to the needs of the child, because at the end of the day what we're trying to do is make sure that the child has better prospects through these interventions, and I think the review is worthwhile.
Thank you very much, Minister. Question number 12.